but you might have seen like articles or videos. Former government scientist.
Yeah.
He never worked for the government, and we can prove that.
How
and
did
he
they
was
get
never
away
a
with
scientist
this for so long. How did they get away? Like how?
It's kind of a gray area, I guess. It's consumer fraud to me.
Because
But
you'd think in the age of the internet, because I understand back in the day before people
in 1989 it was difficult
or look anything up. Like for instance, like in the martial arts community, they used to have all these fake masters, like the guy Bloodsport.
I love those guys that knock people over with their chi. I love that.
Force powers and stuff like that. And then of course, like UFC came around, and now we know martial arts doesn't work like that. So for me, it's of course, like back in the day, people were able to get to spew all sorts of bullshit. I worked here and I had this clearance but now we're in the digital age, and you'd think anybody could just look into it and debunk them, but I guess people are just lazy and they prey.
Oh, absolutely. And he told various stories about his education. For example, he told one person, well, I didn't really go to MIT. I went there because I was interested in the school, and I would like sneak into lectures and just hang out. And they were kind of lax on security back then. So I could sit and listen to like lectures on electricity and magnetism, lectures on physics, and nobody really cared, but I never officially went there. And this person tells George Knapp, but even George Knapp at this point, the originator of the story, which put him on the map as an international, journalist, he even admits that Bob Lazar's education is completely fake. But they're kind of like, oh, haven't you ever lied to get a good job? But
has he ever been confronted by somebody about this?
No one has ever been able to break through and actually confront him with all these data points that I told you. If he ever did that, he would melt, because he knows there's no way he's getting a security clearance with a wife that's a convicted murderer, strong ties to organized crime at the height of the Cold War. I've spoken to several people who ran those security checks. Every one that I've spoken to all said this was the height of the Cold War. He would be a huge security risk. They would check and find out his education was fake. That would preclude him.
Yep.
They would check on his family and find out his wife has strong ties to organized crime. That would preclude him. Oh, and also Bob Lazar was bankrupt right before he claimed that he got a job at Area 51. So he would be a severe security risk because he could be bribed by our adversaries or whatever. So the Bob Lazar story, it's a great story. I wish it were true. But the other thing that's interesting is that right before Bob Lazar came out with his story, him and his friend Gene Huff went to this guy John Lear's house, who's another conspiracy wackadoo, and they did some kind of real estate appraisal for him, this guy Gene Huff. And in exchange, John Lear made copies of all of his UFO stuff and gave it to Gene Huff. Gene Huff and Bob Lazar went home with all this guy's tapes and watched them all. And then miraculously, his sport model looks 100% exact to a Billy Meyer beam ship. That was included in the shit that he was given right before he came out with his story. So it falls apart.
You had a question for Steve.
So what everyone's saying in chat is he was apparently on Joe Rogan. I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan bought everything he put down.
Yeah, unfortunately. And you know what? There was a time when I was sending young Jamie, because I know like Rogan doesn't have time to look at a 4-hour stream of mine. So I would make special videos just with the data points to give to Joe Rogan. I don't know if he ever did, but unfortunately, I love Rogan. But I think when it comes to the UFO thing, he's got bad people, because do you know who's bringing him all the UFO people?
Eddie Bravo.
Oh,
well, Eddie Bravo, but really, who brings him the people from the UFO community, including Bob Lazar and all these other people, is Jeremy Corbell. Jeremy Corbell has been caught so many times selling. He sold flares as alien spaceships. He sold drones as alien spaceships.
What?
He sold, he just keeps getting caught over and over. Balloons as alien spaceships.